they also lose salt. Humans need 5 to 10 grams of salt a day for mere survival. Larger animals even more. Which is why for centuries the town of Tegidun-Tessent has been a crucial staging post for nomads. The water here is salty, the earth is salty, even the grass is salty. It was here that I met up with Boubacar, who, like Layla, is now a city dweller, but as a child had come here every year with his parents and their herd. What were you doing here then?
Well, we were moving here from south, like 300 kilometers away with my family.
Yeah.
Coming here for grazing and salt water.
Salt water?
Yeah. Tegidun-Tessent is renowned for its salty water and rich minerals in forage.
Which is really good for the animals.
Yeah.
The people who live here all year round scrape a meagre existence by selling salt to the nomads who pass through. They harvest this salt with a technique perfected over centuries, using the naturally saline water and the burning heat of the midday sun.
Okay, Nick, you see, this lady here is fetching water from the well.
Yeah.
And she has been filling out all these holes.
Right.
So she will fill the last ones, see?
Yep.
That's her day.
And then the water evaporates, leaving this crust of salt.
Right, and then they collect those crusts.
How long before one of these ponds ends up as just salt, do you reckon?
Just one day.
Really?
Yeah.
In just a day?
Yeah.
All that water will evaporate and leave a salt crust?
Yeah.
This place seemed a long way to come just for a drink of salty water, but it pays to keep your animals healthy and well cared for. A nomad's assets, Boubacar told me, are their animals. The goats are their current account, the cattle are their savings account, and the camels are the gold card. Donkeys, he said dismissively, are merely small change. It was time for me to move on, but Boubacar insisted that there was one more thing he wanted to show me. The people we were seeing along the way were mainly Wadabi, as was Boubacar. He said that they were congregating for a festival held every year during this time of plenty at the end of the rainy season, and that it was a party I really should not miss. What should I expect from this festival?
Well, the festival is a Gerewol. Gerewol, it's where the ladies are in charge.
Ladies in charge?
Yeah, they are indeed, and you'll see it. Our traditional cousins say, after God created the cow, he created the woman, and then he created the Fulani.
Okay. So people like you and me are all in with the donkeys and the scorpions and all the rest?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, this. Very kind of him to offer to put us up for the evening. There's a strong and ancient tradition of hospitality amongst nomads, and it wasn't long before Boubacar and I were special guests of Risqua and his family. Millet grinding. Bonsoir. Boubacar had said that women were in charge at the Gerewol, but they were also still in the kitchen.
He's teasing her whether it's not ready yet. It's still late.
Dinner. Where's my dinner? Yeah, it's the same all over the world.
Yes, it is.
The staple food of many of the desert people is millet, but as nomads they have to acquire this by trading with farmers in the south. This particular flour may have travelled a few hundred kilometres with the Wadabi as they drifted north with the rains. But the Tubu women I hope to join have to make a round trip of 1,600 kilometres to ensure that they get theirs. Risqua and his wife insisted that we borrow their beds that night. Perhaps they felt we were going to need our beauty sleep before the party.
Okay.
Gosh, it's quite a contraption, isn't it?
These things are all lightweight. The whole camp can be folded in 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Really?
Well, Nick, that's it. 5-star hotel.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely. With the night sky.
Right, you can count countless stars tonight.
Yeah. So dinner must be nearly ready now.
Yeah.
With the bedroom seen to, we wandered off to the restaurant. All around us, I could hear the sounds from neighbouring campfires. There was a sense of expectation in the air. Risqua's camel alarm clock ensured that the camp was up bright and early the next morning. After last night's millet porridge sweetened with dates, it was time for me to try the breakfast special, still warm camel's milk. The Garawal is a rare chance for the young Wadabi to get together, a sort of high school prom that can lead to anything from a one-night stand to a lifetime commitment. What makes this festival so unusual, however, is that it's the boys who have to dress to impress and the girls who get to choose. Physical beauty is very important in Wadabi culture. Men in the West claim bewilderment at the amount of time women take in the bathroom. I soon realised that neither my sisters nor any girlfriend I'd ever known had anything on the Wadabi menfolk preparing for a Garawal. They started at dawn and took all day. And so it was that I found myself as a sort of special guest in a West African nomad's all-male beauty contest. At about 4 in the afternoon, the party started. Boubacar explained that the songs were like sentimental ballads to impress the ladies, and that showing off the whiteness of your eyes and teeth was the key to success. I was rather pleased with the results of my Wadabi makeover. Boubacar seemed to be reliving his youth. After a considerable amount of effort from us menfolk, the girls finally deigned to honour us with their presence. They'd insisted that I join in the fun, and the village elders seemed to have further plans for honouring their novelty guest. The first girl was having none of it. The second was finally coerced into a grudging recognition of my distinctive mid-latitude charms. Despite everyone's apparent delight at my performance, it was definitely time to leave the young folk to it. The Garawal showed me that gender relations amongst the desert nomads are not always what you'd expect. Though they initially seemed timid, the Wadabi women were obviously not to be messed with. The next stage of my journey depended on me persuading the Tubu women to take me with them across the Tenere. I was hoping this afternoon's charm lesson would stand me in good stead with the toughest nomad women of all. It was time to leave the relative comfort of the Sahel behind and head into the Tenere, to the area they call the Rien de Rien, the nothing of nothing. The Tenere Sand Sea is one of the most desolate and empty places on Earth, and I was heading into the heart of it to find the only people who dare to try and live there. For centuries, Europeans were drawn by the mystery of the Great Sahara. Most never returned to tell of their journeys, broken by its heat, by disease, or dying at the hands of merciless desert people. As we headed for what I hoped would be welcoming Tubu women, we passed clues that further back in its history this had been a less unforgiving environment. Petrified trees lying preserved in the sand were testament to the dramatic oscillations in rainfall and vegetation cover that have occurred here in the last 12,000 years. Rock drawings illustrated that giraffes and rhinos had once grazed this land. After 2 days of driving, I arrived at Termit, home to a small encampment of Tubu. Living this far into the desert is very tough indeed. It's thought that the Tubu here in Termit have developed their survival mechanism over the last half-century. While the men stay behind to tend the animals, the women lead the caravans north across the Tenere to trade their camels for dates, before returning and heading south to trade the dates for the staple millet. The full round trip takes anything up to 6 months. I was hoping to persuade them to take me with them on just a small part of their journey, north to Bilma to get dates. But when I met up with my Tubu translator, Sugi, he had bad news.
Well, I've come a long way to meet these legendary Tubu, tough women of the desert, and all I can see around are men. Where are the women?
Oh, they are already left.
They've already left?
Yeah.
When? How many days ago?
Oh, it's about 2 or 3 days.
Yeah? And you think we'll be able to catch them up in the vehicle?
Yeah.
Good, because I'm relying on you, Sugi.
No problem. You're welcome.
Thank you.
We knew that the caravan was following the old slave trading route north to the oasis at Bilma, but finding them was like looking for a needle in a haystack amongst the huge dunes. So we decided to head for a well which we knew to be on their way. 36 hot and dusty hours later, we arrived at the oasis of Dibella. My idea of an oasis had always been a cool blue pool surrounded by gently waving palms. Dibella was a little less inviting. Our women weren't there. No one was there. All we could do was wait. The heat was stifling, over 50 degrees Celsius in the sun. It felt like the middle of nowhere, but at least once a day a caravan would appear. Dibella was a sort of Saharan motorway service station. The caravans would water their camels, exchange information, and then melt once more back into the heat and the sand. One day we spotted some women, but they were laden with their dates from Bilma and were heading south. End of the 3rd day of waiting. Sugi says they have to come through here. I don't think there's another well for several days' walk in any direction. But when those people came through earlier today and they left us, there's that feeling of being absolutely in the middle of nowhere and alone. So I hope they arrive tomorrow. Very early the next day, finally, on a far horizon, we spotted a caravan. Was this, at last, our Tubu women? I was nervous but excited. I didn't know what to expect. Huddled in the shade were 4 tiny women, and incredibly 4 children as well. The youngest, little Aisha, was only 6. They weren't the warrior women I'd imagined, but they had just walked 350 kilometers from Termit.
How do you do?
Would they really let me join them?
Could you ask them if it would be possible for me to come on the journey with them to Bilma?
They said okay. It seemed they said a bit more than that.
It's not going to be easy for you. Why is she laughing?
How can she tell that just by